Hey everybody, Allie Bloyd here. Today we are going to talk about how to structure and implement an effective lead magnet campaign. So first things first, what is a lead magnet? A lead magnet is an example of a gated content offer. What this means is that we are delivering some sort of content or information of value in exchange for contact information. Because you are exchanging information, this is an offer. And so we need to treat it as an offer when it comes to advertising this. But this is something that I see a lot of people get wrong. However, if used correctly, gated content offers can be an amazing addition to your marketing strategy and can ultimately lead to a huge increase in sales, building a really strong qualified lead list, and continuing to allow you to grow your business, exposing your products and services to a group of people who may not otherwise have opted in for your core offer. So a couple of examples of lead magnets would be a video training that someone is opting in for. It could be a PDF, such as a checklist or a list. In the past, white papers and ebooks were kind of the most common PDF formats. We'll talk about why I don't particularly love those options at this present time, but those are also examples of lead magnets. You could also provide a usable resource. So an example of this would be my 3 free text message campaigns that I'm actually delivering to people that they can use and implement into their own business. It could be a free challenge. For example, my 5-day challenge. That is a great lead magnet that I use on a fairly regular basis. It also could be a webinar. A lot of people don't really realize that a webinar is actually a gated content offer, but that's exactly what it is. We also could say that a live event, a free live event, is also a gated content offer. This is a little bit of a mix between a loss leader and a gated content offer, but you are asking for information. In this case, it would be registration information. You're delivering this event content for free. They don't have to pay to be at this event. And ultimately, it will allow you to sell your products and services. You guys, if you've been listening to me for a while, you'll know that I actually love free local live event strategies, but that is technically an example of a gated content offer, but one that works very, very well. You also could consider a contest a gated content offer. Again, this one's a little bit more of a mix between a loss leader and a gated content offer, but it's really only a loss leader for the winner. Everyone else that opts in for this contest, that was a gated content offer in theory. You also could put a blog behind a gate. So in order to see this blog content or this written content, someone first has to give you their content information or their contact information. So now that you know a couple of examples of what qualifies as a lead magnet, hopefully I've got your wheels turning a little bit. But simply picking the type of lead magnet that you want to deliver or create is not all that goes into running an effective lead magnet campaign. One of the very first things that I like for someone to consider when it comes to putting together a gated content offer are these. So the first thing would be, what is the length of the buying cycle for someone in your industry? So if you have a pretty long buying cycle, lead magnets are even more important because you want to be able to really capture information and engage with someone at the very early stages of them thinking about purchasing your product or service. For businesses that have a shorter window, this can still be a good idea. But if we're talking about something like a t-shirt business, you're selling t-shirts online, there is not a huge buying cycle for that. Someone could see your product and just go ahead and buy it. It's more of an impulse buy. So I don't necessarily recommend these for things that are typically impulse buys. However, if it is something that may have a shorter buying cycle but is higher ticket or maybe is just a more serious purchase for someone, that it could have a big impact on their life or their finances or their business or anything that would really make them pause and think and decide, who do I actually want to buy this from, or who do I actually want to hire to help me with this? Those can still be really great types of businesses to utilize gated content offers, because it's very critical that you show yourself as an expert in this field, that you give someone the information that would prove to them that you are the best choice for that purchase, even if there is a shorter window. So this is not a tripwire, and this is something that people often get confused. That would be something like a gated content offer, except for you're charging money for it. That could be $5, $7, $27, whatever it is. So if you're charging money for this, this is not a gated content offer anymore. This is actually a paid offer. We'd kind of call that an entry point offer, but it's typically said to be more of a tripwire. You're getting someone to show that they're interested in the content, but you also want them to bust out their credit card and go ahead and take the action of purchasing, which will make that next purchase quite a bit easier. So now that we've talked about what a lead magnet is, some examples of lead magnets, and who the best businesses are to actually utilize lead magnets, let's talk about how to structure a lead magnet campaign effectively and appropriately. So the very first thing that you want to consider is, how does this gated content offer or lead magnet actually fit into my strategy? So I have seen very few businesses that can use a gated content offer as the only type of campaign that they're actually running. So what you want to do is utilize a lead magnet to build a larger audience of people who are familiar with you, even if they don't opt in for it, but you also really want to build your list. So list building is very, very important. It always has been, but it's increasingly more important as time goes on, because your list is ultimately the only thing you actually own in terms of your advertising assets. For example, if Facebook or Instagram or Google or YouTube were to shut down your page or your account, you would no longer be able to retarget people or engage with the followers that you built on those platforms. Your list is something that you can communicate with whenever you want, however you want, and you can also take that list and use it to upload to other platforms as a custom audience. You can use it to create lookalike audiences that are a lot more targeted and effective. And ultimately, just being able to email, text, or message people without having to pay again for the advertising is a huge benefit. If you are relying on your ads alone to expose your business to your potential customers and your leads and prospects, you are missing out on a tremendous opportunity to generate more revenue and ultimately spend a little less on advertising while maintaining really solid results. The next thing you want to consider is the topic. So the topic of a lead magnet is one of the single most important things about it. The topic of your lead magnet needs to appeal to the largest potential audience, because we don't want a lead magnet that only a few people need, which means this is really something for people in the top of funnel or potentially middle of funnel levels of awareness. It's not really a bottom of the funnel type of offer. So you want to take people at those very early stages of interest in your product or service, and you want to go ahead and capture them, pull them into your ecosystem so that you can continue to retarget them, continue to drip on them, maybe even reach out to them personally and expose them to so much more about what your business or products and services can actually do for them. Things that you simply wouldn't be able to put into an ad. So your email marketing and your text message follow-up, these are really critical, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. But again, you want to make sure that the topic is appropriate for that top of funnel or maybe middle of funnel audience. So I'll give you an example. I used to work in the home improvement and remodeling space for many, many years. We still work with businesses in those industries, but I was very focused on that industry. I was actually working as a marketing director for about 5 years for remodeling and renovation companies. And so what I saw throughout that industry was that one of the most common lead magnet topics that I was seeing was something like how to hire the best contractor for your job, or how to make sure that your contractor is qualified. So while in theory that sounds like a good topic because that is something that homeowners are concerned about, it ultimately is only applying to a very small percentage of the audience. And that's the percentage of the audience that already knows that they want to remodel. They've already really kind of moved through those different stages and they're actually prepared to hire a contractor very soon. While that may seem like a good group of people to focus on, those people, they really probably already have some idea of who they want to hire at that point in time. And if you're not in the running for that, you're really not at the top of their list. So again, the audience is smaller, but it's also at a stage in the buying cycle or the awareness cycle where there's already a lot more competition for their business. You've waited a little bit too long. So different types of lead magnets for that industry. The topics that I prefer, that I've seen work much, much better, really go back to what are the questions that someone would have when they're first thinking about doing a remodel, because that is the time that we really want to capture them. That could be, what are the different home design styles or different remodeling styles that someone could consider? So at that stage, they're really doing some of that fun research, thinking about the different room styles and design styles and trying to figure out what might be a good fit for them. If someone is ready to hire a contractor, they already know that, or at least they should. So this is much higher up in that awareness cycle or that buying cycle for that type of customer. We've also seen that things talking about budgeting are one of the best lead magnet options for that industry as well. Because whenever someone is considering a remodel, one of the first things they know they have to think about is, how much is this going to cost me? Can I even afford to do this right now? So in some industries, thinking about pricing and budgeting may come much lower in the funnel. This is definitely a top of the funnel question for the remodeling industry. So you need to make sure that you really understand the awareness levels for your industry, the questions, concerns, and topics of interest that your ideal customers would have at the very beginning stages, the middle stages, and the end stages. So again, this needs to appeal to the largest population within your demographic. It also needs to attract them at the right stage of the process, because if you wait too long, the audience is much smaller, but you're also going to have more competition. And the other benefit in doing this at the very top of the funnel is that you have the opportunity to be the one that shares the rest of that information with them. You're really appealing to them early on by saying, hey, I know you've got a lot of questions. I know these things are confusing. I want to help you navigate the entire process. So through that education process, whether it is with blogs or videos or email and text marketing, you are going to be able to educate that audience in a way that showcases that your business is the best fit for them. So the more that you can be the one that educates them on all of these different topics, the more they're going to know you, like you, trust you, and also see the difference in what you provide as compared to someone else, which is really going to be able to eliminate a lot of the competition when they are finally ready to make that decision. So understanding how this plays into your strategy, you need to select that right topic, but you also need to understand that you're capturing them early and you're pushing them through those different stages from top of the funnel to middle of the funnel, all the way down to bottom of the funnel. Once you've decided on that topic, The next step is to understand the content format or the format of the lead magnet that you're actually going to be delivering. So I already gave you a lot of different examples above, but how do you know which one is right for you, your business, and most importantly, your audience? So we are not trying to give people what we want to give them. We are trying to give them what they actually need, what they're going to benefit from the most, and what our audience will enjoy the most. So if you have an audience that historically is very into reading, so they read a lot of blogs, they read articles, they read different papers, you need to know that. And it would be a good idea to give them more of that type of content. A lot of times we see an older demographic really responding well to the written word. However, that is not a rule across all industries, but that is a trend that we've seen over the years. Another option would be video. So if your audience is very prone to watching videos to get their information, maybe if they want to learn about something, they're looking it up on YouTube, or maybe you simply have an industry that is very visual, that you would need to actually show people things visually to explain the content that you're trying to explain. Video can be a fabulous option for them. You also might have an industry or a demographic of people that really likes usable resources. If that's the case, then give them a usable resource. So ultimately, you really want to focus on what your audience needs first and foremost. But we also want to make sure that the format in which we're delivering this to them is going to be the most likely to be consumed. If you're putting effort into creating a lead magnet, even if people opt in for it, but they never actually watch it or read it or use it, you're really only getting half of the benefit. So we'll talk about kind of how that works in terms of the list capture versus the usability of that actual lead magnet. But again, if you're taking time to create this, that should be a high priority, actually making sure that people are watching, reading, consuming whatever it is that you've taken the time to actually create. The next thing I would consider is, what is the most natural format for me to be able to deliver this content in terms of what you are capable of. So if you are a great writer and you feel like, okay, my audience, they're definitely open to reading things, and I could go with video, I could go with something written, but I'm just not comfortable on video. Maybe you should start off with something that is more written as opposed to doing a video that maybe you're really hesitant to do, or you do not think you're going to be able to confidently deliver that content. With that being said, I think that video is one of the things that business owners struggle with the most, but it is also one of the most powerful types of gated content offers or lead magnets that you can put out for several different reasons. So first and foremost, you do want that know, like, trust factor. And the quickest way to get that is by actually connecting as a human being with your audience. If they can't see your face and hear your voice and, get to know your mannerisms and your personality, they're really only going to know you on a very surface level. And that's going to be more on like a corporate level. They see you more as a business than an individual. People really like to buy from individuals that they connect with. And so even if video is not a format that you've done a lot of, or that you necessarily think that you're super comfortable with, it's worth trying. It's worth starting, because you can't get great at something unless you do it. It's just like anything else in life. If you are never attempting to do something, there's simply no way you're going to get better. Practice makes perfect, or at least practice makes better. And that's what you want to be focusing on. So even videos that you may not think are top quality, they can still work really well if the information that's being delivered is valuable. These do not need to be high production value. These do not need to be insanely long. What these need to be is valuable, useful, educational, informative, helpful to the person who is really trying to receive that information and in a format that allows them to understand what you're trying to share in the best possible way. So again, if you've got a visual product or service, or if there are demonstrations you would need to show or comparisons, definitely consider video, even if it may not be your most natural format. You also could do something audio based. So again, if you've got a visual product, let's do video for sure. But if you've got something where it doesn't have to be presented visually, but you do think that written word is going to be too much for your audience to read, or maybe you just have an audience that doesn't prefer that format, audio can be a great option for this. There are several delivery mechanisms for audio, but podcasts are audio. You don't have to set up a whole podcast to do this. You can make one audio recording and you can deliver that in a variety of ways. If you are not necessarily a super strong writer or don't want to write long form content, which I would not necessarily suggest these days, then you may just want to do some sort of tangible, usable resource that really helps someone. So white papers and ebooks, as they were very popular in the past, these are not things that audiences as a whole are really opening and reading through at this point in time. People's attention spans have gotten a lot shorter. So they may download that ebook, but it's very unlikely that they're actually going to read it all and go through it, which means that all that work you put in was kind of for nothing. But also the content in your lead magnet should be designed to give them that great value and showcase that your business knows what it's talking about and can really help them. And if they don't consume that, then they're not getting the full benefit that they could be getting. So I mentioned checklists or lists before, and I really love those because they are written, but they're also very usable. Think about a grocery list if you're trying to make a new recipe. It may seem pretty simple, but for someone who doesn't know how to make that recipe, it's pretty valuable. Just the steps of what they need to do to make that recipe. I mean, that is a perfect usable, tangible example. It also could be a list of items that you want to purchase to start recording video for your business. For somebody who wants to start recording video and doesn't really know where to begin, that list is going to be very, very helpful. So don't discount your own knowledge. Don't overestimate what your audience may know or not know or may need or not need. You really want to say, do I have some sort of information that may seem a little bit basic to me, but would be incredibly helpful for my audience, even in a small way? It doesn't have to be a huge life-changing outcome. It just needs to help them get something that they want. So another format would be that usable piece of content. So I already mentioned the 3 free text campaigns. That's one example of what I have. I also have a Facebook ads budgeting spreadsheet. I have a KPI calculator workbook. I have an offer creation workbook. These are things that people can actually go through on their own to calculate their business KPIs or to really understand how to break down their Facebook ads budget or to help craft that offer with all of the elements that they really need to craft. Those are usable. They're not just something that people are going to read. They're things that people should be printing out or, pulling up on their computer and actually going through. That's the benefit there. And those can be incredibly powerful. I definitely lean towards video and that usable resource at this point in time. So one example of this, it's kind of a mix, but it's my Facebook ads jumpstart pack. So this is a collection of 9 different checklists that walk people through every single step they need to take in order to create effective ad campaigns. It gives them, all the prep steps. It gives them all of the audiences they should be creating. It walks them through the different types of ad creative, different types of ad copy, the campaign options. This is something that I have heard from so many people that they actually print out and keep next to their computer whenever they are planning on setting up an ad campaign, because that's how useful it is. My picture, my logo, my business name, I'm sitting right next to them on a daily basis on their desk. And the only reason that's happening is because it's such a valuable, useful resource. It's not something that they can just skim through and say, okay, I've consumed it. It's something they can use over and over and over again. That is powerful. So now that you've really kind of decided, okay, what format would my audience prefer? What are my natural content creation abilities that I should keep in mind? What is a format that's actually going to get my audience to utilize that thing? Let's talk a little bit more about the structure of the funnels and the ads and the way that you're going to get people to actually opt in for that. And then most importantly, ascend them to purchase that core offer that you have. So the first thing that we would want to know is you want to collect all contact information for this. So in the past, a lot of times it was just first name and email address. That is not something that we do really ever anymore, because email is only effective 20% of the time on average in terms of actually being opened. And while your initial email, where you're actually delivering that thing potentially, may get a really high open rate, the following emails, they're still not going to reach everyone that you want it to reach. So full name, email address, and phone number. Those are the requirements, at least for me. That is what I teach my students. You want to make sure that you're asking for all three. So there are times when it may seem a little weird to ask for a phone number. You could always, make that an optional question. But for anything that you are giving them a video, that can be delivered through text message. That seems pretty natural. For my free 5-day challenges, they get text notifications when we go live each day. So that's very natural. Webinar, you could tell them there's going to be reminders for those. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of present that as why you need to ask for their phone number, but you don't even necessarily have to do that. If they want that piece of content, if it's valuable enough, if you've done a great job of all those considerations, they're going to be willing to give it to you. That way you can follow up in not only email, but in text message as well. So in terms of the actual pages of this funnel, that first page, it can be a longer form, but often it's just going to be a shorter form. The most important thing is that you're able to clearly and succinctly identify what this is, what's included, and what the benefits are to the person who would be opting in for it. Remember, you're trying to sell the benefits, not the features. No one cares about the features. They care about the benefits. So it does not have to be a very long opt-in page. I have some that are longer. So for example, my free 5-day challenge, that's a little bit of a longer form opt-in page, not because it technically has to be, but I want to make sure that they understand how in-depth we'll actually be going. I put a lot of screenshots of, great feedback from all of my challenges. I make sure they have enough information to say, yeah, I'm willing to commit 5 days to really go through this. So there may be people that read that whole page. I would say probably the majority don't read the whole page, and that's fine either way. But you can keep the opt-in page pretty simple. The next page is technically the most important. So we do want to make sure that people are actually opting in. And again, name, email, phone number, that's what I would recommend. That next page is really the biggest missed opportunity that I see with lead magnet campaigns. Most people will either send you directly to a thank you page that says, thanks for opting in, check your email to get this resource. Or even worse, they will literally put the download to that resource right there on the next page without anything else. So if we were relying on that piece of content alone to really further our goals through this campaign, that might be enough, but it's simply not. Even the people who download that, they're not necessarily all going to open it or start using it. So what we want to do is make sure that while we have their full attention, which is fleeting in today's world, and while they are thinking about the problems that our business can help them solve, or they're thinking about that product or service or end goal and outcome that they're looking for, which they would be if the topic of that lead magnet is correct, we want to take full advantage of their attention and that elevated awareness of the problem or the end goal that they have. This is the perfect opportunity to present your core offer or your best next step. So what we typically do is we have some text at the top of the page that will say, your whatever is going to hit your inbox/text in 4 minutes. But while you wait, go ahead and watch this video that will teach you how to get the most use out of it, or will show you the best next step. Or we could say something like, obviously, if you opted in for this kitchen design styles guide, you're considering a kitchen remodel. Why don't you skip over going through all the content yourself and set up a one-on-one free design consultation so we can help plan out the best design style for you and your needs, and it doesn't cost a penny. So we normally will have a video on that page that we want someone to watch, because again, up until this point, it's probably not going to have been a lot of video. You want them to hear from you and really solidify you with your business, but you do want to tell them about that best next step. So for example, on my 5-day challenge, Optin, that next page, it says, great, you're almost there. There's a couple of extra steps you'll need to take, such as joining the Facebook group. But wait, you're not done yet. Watch the video below to learn how you can make the most out of this challenge. So my video is telling them, hey, if you're here, you're obviously looking for help marketing your small business or local business or local marketing agency. That's why you signed up for this challenge. And while this challenge will give you a tremendous amount of support and really walk you through this, we know that this is something that often people need a lot more personal help for. You've probably already tried things like this. And if you're ready to kind of skip over attempting to do it all yourself, I want to be the person that can help you not only learn about this, but really implement this in the quickest and most effective way possible. So then I tell them, go ahead and schedule a free strategy session with me and my team so that you can learn about the ways that we can help you even before the challenge begins. That page also has a calendar on it. That calendar is something that a lot of people use to schedule that call. They were not opting in to schedule a call with me and my team. They opted in for the challenge, but I presented the best next step to them immediately, knowing that they don't have to do it. They're still going to go into that challenge. I'm still going to have the opportunity to connect with them live for 5 days, but I also know that not everyone is going to show up live to that challenge. And if I relied only on the challenge itself to try and capture those appointments or do the selling, I would miss out on a tremendous number of scheduled calls, appointments, and ultimately sales, because we get a ton of calls scheduled before that challenge even starts. We make a lot of sales before that challenge starts. And then we're also able to take advantage of the time that we have with them during that challenge to kind of promote the best next step to them, but also give them tremendous value so that they are very appreciative of what I've been able to give to them without them having to spend a single dollar, which makes them more likely to go back and schedule that call in the follow-up campaigns. So again, you want to be using email and text. Your text message marketing doesn't have to be super aggressive, but I would definitely give them an opt-in confirmation text and at least tell them where they can find that resource, or just give them the link through text right then and there. People always have their phones with them. Text messages very rarely go unread. Even if they don't act on it, they're going to see it. And that's more than we can say with the percentages that you would see with email open rates or click-through rates. So once we get that person to take that next step, that's awesome. It could be that they're actually purchasing your product. And if you want them to make a purchase, it's really good to give them a special limited time offer that's only available on this page right here and now. They're not going to see it again. So you do want to take advantage of that sense of urgency, but you also, again, have their full attention and they're really thinking about it. So incentivize them to go ahead and act right now. You can still do follow-up marketing, and you don't want to lie. You don't want to keep providing that same offer over and over if you told them it was only available on this page, but you can make it a slightly less aggressive offer after the fact so that you can honor your word. Maybe it's just a smaller percentage of a discount, or maybe some of the bonuses aren't included, but you still want to follow up and promote what it is that you do and your offer. So a lot of times people will use email only in their follow-up. I've already said that's a mistake. But they also will really only provide content value-based emails. Okay. You've already provided something of great value. You have the ability now to confidently say, yeah, I can promote my offer to you. I can tell you what I do and how I can help you. And if you really feel that you and your business help those that you're trying to serve, you should be excited about doing more sales focused emails or text messages and not feeling like you're annoying someone. So you also could use something like Messenger or a lead form to get the opt-in. And in that case, you really want to rely a lot more heavily on text message follow-up. But it can work exactly the same way. So I would split test between using a conversions objective and a lead form objective, because you may find that you get cheaper opt-ins on the lead form, but that your conversions on the next step remain the same. Or you might find the opposite. It really does depend on exactly how you're structuring that, who the audience is, what you're delivering to them. However, we've seen great results with that, especially on things like 5-day challenge opt-ins. However, I tend to always use the conversions objective. My landing page converts at a really high rate, so I haven't been able to beat those numbers with a lead form. But for my video training opt-in, I use the lead form objective far more than I use conversions, just because of the structure of the campaigns that they're getting afterwards and the content delivery. I can deliver that video to them in text message and they can watch that video on their phone. And that's how a lot of people watch video these days. And so it really is a natural flow for them. So I also would make sure that even if you've got that next step page, that you don't necessarily just put the content there for them to download right away. You want to make sure that the contact information they gave you is valid. And if they just get it as soon as they opt in and they don't have to check their email or their text message, you're not going to know if it was valid. And, let's say they gave you the wrong info and they don't get it and they don't say anything about it, then whatever. But if somebody really wants that and they realize that's the only way they're getting it, they'll probably go back and opt in again with the correct information, which is what you want. They may even reach out to you and say, hey, I never got this. And you say, oh, well, this is the email. Is that right? And they'll say, oh, no. But then you still get the correct email or phone number anyway. So definitely would not put that piece of content immediately after they opt in. I would send that to them through email and text to condition them to start receiving messages from you, and also to verify that contact information, like I said. So you also do want to use those nurture campaigns, like I mentioned. They can be a mix of value-based content, but the initial campaigns that they're getting, they really should be prompting them to take that next step, because again, it's fresh on their mind. You know that they're potentially a good fit for what you do if they opted in for this. And then if they don't convert, just keep them in more of that nurture focused sequence that is a little bit more content focused, but still have calls to action at the bottom of every message or email, because you never know when the timing is right. For anything, especially with a long buying cycle, it could be any day that they finally have the things that they need to be able to move forward, or maybe the timing becomes right, or things have fallen into place in which it allows them to move forward. So never write someone off as a closed lead or an abandoned lead just because they don't convert right away. You've got to be willing to be patient and put in the work with your list to get additional conversions. If you only rely on the conversions that are happening immediately after opt-in, you still may be profitable in your campaigns, but you're definitely not going to be as profitable as you could. So I really can't stress that enough. Be willing to be patient, be willing to work for the sale by providing follow-up content on the back end and continuing to drip on these leads, knowing that they could still convert. And I've seen it happen over and over and over again. Leads that convert after years of following me or years after they've opted in. You also want to make sure you're retargeting people who either opt in or engage with your lead magnet campaigns with your core offer. Make sure there's no way that they do not know what you ultimately want them to purchase. I cannot stress this enough. It's not just email and text follow-up. You also want to retarget them with that core offer. And you can also use manual outreach to start conversations with these leads. This is something I don't see done nearly enough. This is another great reason to ask for the phone number. You could have an appointment setter call the leads who don't take that next step and say, hey, this is so-and-so from Allie Bloyd Media, and I see that you requested our free video training on local marketing strategies, and I just wanted to make sure that you got that. And if they say, no, I didn't, you can say, okay, great. I'm so glad you let me know. I'd love to send that to you. But while I've got you on the phone, what was it that you were hoping to learn from this? And really start that natural conversation. If they did get it, you could say, great. Have you had a chance to go through it? What did you think about it? Did you have any questions? I'd love to really, help talk you through this one-on-one if you've got some time, or we'd love to schedule an appointment with you and our team. So that is a very low pressure conversation, and not enough people do that. Doing that will dramatically improve the profitability of these campaigns as well. So a few final thoughts on this. You do want to make sure that your opt-in metrics are what they need to be. So it really depends on what the format is, what the audience is, what you're selling, but really, under $10 is what you're aiming for. If it's over $10, you've got some work to do to bring those costs down. But the most important metric is really the conversions on that next step. So cost per scheduled call or appointment, or cost per purchase. Those are the things that you want to look at, because if those metrics are still hitting the KPIs that you need, the campaign is doing what it's supposed to do, and you're building a great list in the process of people who could convert over time. So again, be patient, but make sure that your initial profitability, or at least the initial metrics such as cost per appointment, are where they need to be, or the campaign is not doing what it is supposed to be doing. That's really how you are going to determine the success of this, not just by opt-ins, but really by that next step, or that core offer that you need someone to take to be able to sell them, and then ultimately reviewing to see if any of these people are converting, and if so, how much revenue are they bringing into your business. So you want to do that on the short term, but you also want to do that on the long term. I noticed, it was probably about a year or so ago, that I had created my Facebook ads jumpstart pack, but I'd never really promoted it that much outside of just organically. I'd never run ads for it. But then I started to take a look at all of our closed opportunities in the CRM. And I noticed that probably 90% of everyone who started working with me had in fact downloaded that resource. So sometimes it was the very first step, but sometimes it wasn't the first step. However, when you see data like that, you can't ignore it. This resource was obviously playing a role in people wanting to work with me, or feeling more confident that I could help them, or feeling like I had useful strategies and resources for them. So I began to actively promote this on its own. And this is something that's built me a really great list at a really low cost. I also use several other types of gated content offers, as I mentioned before, such as a video training opt-in, free resource opt-in, 5-day challenge. I've done other things in the past, but those are kind of my most consistent. But you want to make sure that you are evaluating if there are any similarities between the people who are opting in, or maybe the people who are buying. Have they at some point gotten this resource from you? Even if it was a year ago, those pieces of information will show you that this is doing something to push people towards the sale and is generating revenue for your business. So hopefully this episode has been incredibly helpful. I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with. And so maybe you're already running a campaign like this and you're not seeing the results that you want. Go back and actually implement the steps that I'm talking about, and I promise you'll see different results. If you're not yet using a lead magnet or a gated content offer in your ad strategy, this could be a great opportunity to do it, and do it right the first time. So if you want to get more tips just like this, make sure that you subscribe, make sure that you really are following us on social media, that you are subscribed to the podcast and listening to those episodes, that you subscribe on YouTube so that you can get more tactical and strategic videos or content pieces that will help you. And those are not even gated content. They are absolutely free content for anyone to utilize. And, even without the gate, they can still do amazing things for your business in terms of revenue. revenue. So hopefully this has been awesome for you today. I look forward to hearing your stories about the results that you've seen with lead magnet campaigns utilizing this strategy. Have a great day.